Well, this is Van Sickle Bay, which is located in the south end of Galway. The property we're going to talk about is located right in here. John's right. This was a situation that came up that involved, this resort. And this was early development. Well, we did get some pictures, but this was a family resort. Cabins looking like this, 100 years old. Had been around as a logging camp initially. It was on 196 front feet of lake shore. I'm going to cite a couple of things here because it was important what we did. It was occupied by 12-foot aluminum boats, 15-horse outboards, and that dock. And that dock was key to how we won this campaign. This was the three pieces of property in question. This one was purchased by the developer, the single-family home. He then purchased the old resort for about $600,000. The parcel of land up there, he had an offer in on it to purchase it also. Initial intent was to expand to 21 units and 200 some front feet, or 300 front feet of lake shore. Now, from that little resort, this is what it started to develop. You can notice this cabin, and John mentioned it, $600,000 to purchase the resort, cabin selling for $500,000 apiece. He mentioned to the county, got the permits under the auspices that he was developing and remodeling the resort. This is what came to be in his development. You can see 14 homes, 18 were planned for. Personal watercraft pulled up on the shore, slips filled with 22-foot inboards, a massive configuration dock, we call it a marina. The land mass did not change. From that initial resort I showed you, this was all on 196 front feet of lake shore, under 5 acres. The cabin in the back, or the house I should say, in the back up there is in red, because he added that on his personal property, sold it, went to the county, obtained an easement to allow that individual to purchase the home to access dockage in the resort, or we call it a residential PPD. I want to compare the two so you get a visual impact. Here was the resort before, 8 cabins. Here's what it looked like at the time we got into the fight. He also took, which was a storage shed, the Brown building, put an apartment in it with the intention of renting it and turned it into a rec center. The average cost of a home there was $400,000 to $500,000. The county, even though we got into it, still said no, it's a resort. Kind of interesting, it was a resort. Before I go any forward, I kind of want to lay out how we attacked our plan. Interesting slide. Does anybody know how you delve without choking? That's it. Small bites. And that became our strategy. Over 9 years this went on, and we fought this development. There was a lawsuit, as John mentioned. I was trying to figure out how many attorneys were involved, I think 10, over the course of the 9 years. I'm talking about their attorneys too. Of course, we had Superman attorneys, so we only had that one. The meeting with the BOA, John mentioned that. We met with the BOA, the Board of Adjustments, to try and get a position from them. And I have to tell this, I might get shot later. But meeting with the BOA, I'll never forget, we're trying to get a decision from them. 2 things came out of it. One, the head of the BOA said, I can't listen to this any longer. It's time for supper. I got to go home. And one of the women that was on it had been on the Planning Advisory Commission, stood up, chewed on the developer for a while, turned to us and said, "You guys sue him, take him to court. You cannot give up. We can't make a decision here. You got to continue." So that was sort of the good and bad of it all. It also took us personal expenses and legal expenses into the six figures over 9 years. We implemented multiple ever-changing strategies, and this is a very important thing in fighting these kind of deals. Our strategies were focused on county officials, development, ordinances, the public, area residents, and homeowners who purchased the development. And each one of them had a different strategy, and we were changing them all the time. I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. We needed to purchase and control all the land that surrounded the development. This was a key factor for us, because we wanted to landlock them to control the destiny, so we went out and started buying up acreage. And partnering with the owners. We separated the owners from the county and from the developer. When I say separated, we had a strategy to pull them apart. And we ended up joining ranks with the people that owned in the development. And through working with them, it's the only way we accomplished what we're doing, or did it. Here's what came out of this, all of our fighting. The developers, John stole my speech, had to remove these 3 units back here. One was owned, one he owned, and one was yet to be sold. That was about $1 million. The purple you see up there, that individual had been granted an easement to the doctors. That easement was removed. But the developer turned around and gave her an easement across his land and put a dock out here. And the county allowed it. The developer that owned this house had to surrender some lake shore and this property, that's just an estimate, in order for us to get the density requirements. This beach had to be reduced. This area, roadway which was paved with a ramp, all had to be removed and put in pavers. This homeowner lost his dock rights. These guys had to buy them out. And that land was purchased by Dr. Ye and myself and put in a conservation easement and sold back to the people who owned in the development. So what we did was, we, by easement, got rid of one of the people who had access to the beach, to the resort. 3 houses, took land back from the developer, Shoreland, changed the configuration on the property, bought a piece of property which was sold back to the development, and put it in a conservation easement. And in turn, the people who were in the development, through our relationship, got their money back from the developer for all of this. I think the one thing that came out of this, and one of the things that Dr. Ye asked me to talk about, is a lot of times people get into these kind of situations and they don't feel they can win. Well, we're here to tell you, you can be successful. You can challenge. It just takes a commitment. 9 years is a long commitment. It's a lot of money. And getting it into a conservation easement and controlling this project was a real victory for us. You got to develop strategies. Whenever somebody talks to me about, well, how are we going to defeat this, how are we going to do that, we always say you got to have strong strategies. You got to be able to change it. The other thing is that aren't based on emotions. When we initially got into this project, emotions were just out of control. And those emotions could have defeated us. That's the reason, instead of the citizens group that was involved, we narrowed it down to just Dr. Ye and myself. It focused on the real issues.